The breaking point. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to share something like this. I've always been private, reserved, but lately I've found myself up late at night scrolling through stories of strangers on forums and dark corners of the internet, reading about the breaking points people reach, their thresholds. I guess I'm finally at mine. My name is Nikki, and for the longest time I believed that love meant sacrifice, that loyalty meant staying no matter how much it hurt. That silence meant strength. I gave everything I had to a bi-lesbian named Erica, my time, my care, my savings, and in the end, my peace of mind. This was my first real relationship with a woman. I had dated men in the past, even had a son from one of them, but this time it felt different, stronger, deeper. I was swept into it, and for a while I thought it was everything I'd been missing. The connection, the passion, the sense of being truly seen. As someone newly discovering her identity within the LGBTQ community, I didn't care that I was the one providing, even though it felt surreal at times. I was proud to love her openly. When we met, Erica had nothing. No job, no savings, just a history of messy breakups from different women and 2 daughters from 2 different fathers at an early age before she realized she was a lesbian. One was 14, the other 17. At first, they lived with their other parents, but slowly, Erica brought them to live with us. Said she wanted to be a real mom and show she could provide for them. I supported it. I let her move into my home just a few months into dating. She said I gave her hope, that I made her feel stable. I believed her, so I let her in. All of them. I worked constantly. Double shifts, overnight hours, holidays, sometimes 2 jobs at once. Erica said she had dreams, but not the kind that required a job. She claimed she was meant for something greater, that society didn't understand her artistry, her depth. Jobs were beneath her. So I paid for everything. Rent, groceries, utilities. Her kids' phones, their clothes, their school trips. I even gave Erica 2 cars, one the classic limited edition pickup truck I gifted to her for our first-year anniversary and a few years forward, a sleek hybrid smart car SUV I bought her for her birthday after finally paying off the first one. She posed with that car like she was some kind of influencer, posted online like she earned it. It felt off, but I said nothing. She went on weekend trips with friends, came back at odd hours. Sometimes she didn't come back at all until sunrise. I asked her gently where she'd been. She'd call me clingy, jealous, accuse me of trying to trap her, of not trusting her fluid spirit. She made me question myself, made me apologize for even caring. But I knew there were other women, girls she'd meet at art shows, open mics, through DMs. I saw messages, flirty comments, selfies exchanged. But anytime I tried to talk about it, I became the problem. I have a son. He's 19, focused, kind, quiet. He studies hard and tries not to get in the way. Erica didn't like him, said he gave off masculine tension that messed with her energy. Yet it was her daughters who lounged around, making messes just on their cell phone all day. My son tried to clean, cook, be respectful, and somehow he was always the villain in her eyes. The contrast was undeniable, but I stayed quiet. I even paid for therapy for her after her exes and family suggested she get help. She laughed it off, said they just couldn't handle her enlightened mind. When her cousin offered her a job in a nearby gallery, she ghosted her, said it was beneath her vision. She never listened, and I never forced her. I respected her as the masculine aspect in our relationship, even when there was nothing respectable about the way she treated me. I remember one time I got sick, really sick. I'd been running on no sleep for days, juggling extra shifts to cover a sudden expense with one of her daughter's school activities. I collapsed in the kitchen. When I woke up on the couch later, she wasn't home. She'd gone out for drinks. Said she needed space because I was being emotionally heavy. That moment stayed with me, but I didn't leave. I kept going, like a machine, a broken, sputtering machine. She began pushing for a vacation, something big, out of town or abroad. I couldn't afford it, but she said it was necessary, that the stress was affecting her health. She wanted us to go with all the kids, or at least make sure someone could care for them while we were away. She started snapping more frequently. Blamed me for being tired all the time, for not being fun anymore, for not trusting her. And I absorbed it all, like I always had, until it happened. It wasn't loud, there was no screaming match, no explosive argument, just a quiet, unremarkable Sunday morning. She was lying in bed, scrolling on her phone. I was standing by the door holding a grocery list. I'd just finished my 6th overnight shift in a row. My eyes were bloodshot, my legs aching. I asked if she could help get a few things. I asked so gently, almost apologetically. She didn't even look up. "Get it yourself," she muttered, thumbs tapping her phone. "You've got a car, don't you?" I stood there. That was it. The crack. Not a slap, not a scream, just words. I realized in that second that this was it. This would be the rest of my life, until I collapsed and died in a heap of debt and silent resentment, and she would shrug and find someone else to drain. The next few days felt normal. I went to work, paid bills, cooked for the kids, smiled, nodded, laughed at her jokes. I even booked the camping trip she'd been hinting at for weeks. She was excited, said it was going to be just what we needed. We took both cars, packed snacks, gear, and headed out. The woods were quiet, beautiful. The girls played near the water. I set up a small cooking station, made coffee, grilled sandwiches. I was calm, too calm maybe. I handed her a cup. She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in a long time. We toasted quietly. She said, "Maybe things are finally looking up for us." And in that moment, I almost believed her. Almost. What happened next, I won't describe. I don't think it matters. What matters is that it was quiet, fast, clean. I bought the item using crypto from the dark web, as mentioned in a Reddit forum. I learned quietly how to remain anonymous on the internet for weeks, asking questions, using screen names until that day. They thought it was a heart attack, a tragic accident. The stress, the lifestyle, her drinking. Even her kids weren't surprised. I took care of everything, the funeral, the paperwork. I also returned the kids to their respective fathers. She left everything to me, they said, and there should be a will. But her family and friends knew she had nothing, and nothing to prove. But the other truth, no one will ever know. I'm not writing this for confession. I'm writing this as a warning. People talk about mental health like it's this visible, manageable thing. But sometimes it's slow, quiet, cumulative. You don't see it coming. You just wake up one day and realize your hands have gone numb from carrying too much. They say don't take advantage of someone who loves you, but they never tell you why. Because love, when twisted, can become something unrecognizable. And when someone who's been silent finally breaks, you won't hear it until it's too late. The parking ticket. My name is Alexis. I'm single, a woman with decent beauty and a dominant personality. I live a life I'm grateful for. I feel like I've reached a point where things are almost perfect, especially at my age. I have a girlfriend named Eli. She's not just my partner, she's my peace. Our relationship falls under the LGBTQ community. And while most people in our area don't really mind, there are still a few who look at us like we're cursed, like our happiness is offensive to them. But I've always brushed it off. I'm not out here hurting anyone. I just want to live freely, as long as I'm not causing anyone harm. I thought I was doing that until the incident happened. It all started when I finally bought a car, a crossover I'd been dreaming of. After being promoted at work, my finances really took off. I was able to rent my own house, decorate it the way I wanted, live with Eli and our dogs, and just enjoy life for the first time in a long time. I work from home as a web developer, and when things get a little overwhelming, I like to take drives around the central part of our neighborhood to clear my head. There's a certain spot we love, a street by a park, surrounded by restaurants and little coffee shops. In the mornings, people jog and walk their dogs. At night, the road becomes a quiet haven for families and couples, where people park their cars, eat dinner inside, sip coffee, and enjoy the breeze. It's our thing, our little escape. We'd cook dinner at home, pack it up, and eat together in the car while watching Netflix with our dogs. Day or night, under the sun or in the rain, it was our cheap but beautiful version of paradise. Parking on that street came with a small fee, just 30 cents per 24 hours. There were staff members who monitored the area since it was technically private property. But it was worth every penny, a lot cheaper and more relaxing than going to a mall. Then came our anniversary. We decided to treat ourselves and rented a condo nearby for a short staycation. We left our dogs with my parents and spent the day celebrating like we always do. Netflix, snacks, just us. Eli ordered a pizza, which was supposed to take 75 minutes. She even posted it on her IG story, a picture of the receipt and all. We were cuddled up, watching our favorite series when, barely 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. "Wow, that's fast," Eli said. We weren't expecting anything weird. But instead of a man, the delivery person was a woman. Pale white uniform, cap pulled down, her face never lifting, like she was always looking for something on the floor. She handed us the pizza box, and just as Eli reached for it, the woman pulled out a handkerchief and shoved it against Eli's face. Everything after that is a blur. I remember waking up on the floor, tied up, mouth covered, my head was spinning. My limbs were numb. The room smelled like chlorine and cardboard. My eyes locked onto Eli, who was also unconscious, being tied up by that same woman. She didn't speak, didn't flinch, didn't show any emotion, just methodically tying knots like she was following a routine. There was no struggle in her, no hesitation, just this cold, quiet focus. I wanted to scream. My brain was racing. Who was she? Why us? What did we do? Then Eli started to wake up. Her groggy voice barely escaped through the gag, and she panicked. She fought the restraints, kicked her legs, and that's when the woman finally spoke. "Don't say a word." But Eli kept struggling. She was trying to get loose. And just like that, with the same emotionless face, the woman grabbed Eli by her arms and dragged her across the room toward the window. I was screaming through the cloth in my mouth. I watched in horror as she forced Eli over the edge and let go. There was a sickening sound, metal and glass. A car alarm blared outside. I knew immediately. Eli had fallen several stories. She was either dead or dying, and I couldn't do anything. Then the woman turned to me. She dragged me out of the room, up the stairwell to the rooftop pool, still not saying a word, still wearing that strange, distant expression. She pushed me into the water, didn't even wait to see what happened next. I sank. The last thing I remember was blackness, cold, water flooding my lungs. I was sure I was going to die, but I didn't. I woke up in a hospital. My throat burned. My body ached, but I was alive. The doorman had found me. Apparently, one of the guests in the room next to ours had heard something strange, muffled yelling, a thud. They called security. The staff opened the door just in time to find the woman dragging me to the rooftop. They caught her, and, by some miracle, Eli survived. Her body broke the back windshield of a parked car, cushioning her fall just enough. She had some broken bones and needed surgery, but she lived. She gave her statement to the police as soon as she regained consciousness. The cops came to see me once I stabilized. They told me the woman was in custody, but they needed to know if we recognized her. They showed me her mugshot. And that's when it hit me. She was one of the parking staff from the park we used to hang out at. Always quiet, never made eye contact. She'd just come by to check tickets and walk away. I hadn't thought much of her, but she'd clearly thought a lot about us. The investigators eventually uncovered her story. She had a daughter once, a sweet, bright girl, kind, intelligent, the kind of child any parent would be proud of. But then the girl came out as a lesbian after falling in love with another woman. The mother, our attacker, came from a strict Christian household, deeply religious. When her daughter confessed, everything crumbled. They fought constantly. The daughter was cut off from her church, her family, her identity. Her relationship didn't last. Her friends drifted away, and one day the daughter gave up completely. She took her own life. Her mother never accepted the blame. She couldn't. But the father did. So did the rest of the family. She lost everything, her daughter, her marriage, her purpose. And in her mind, it was the LGBTQ community that had poisoned her daughter's life. That's why she targeted us. She saw us often, smiling, holding hands, eating dinner in our car. She must have watched us for weeks, maybe months, saw how happy we were. And in her broken, grieving mind, she wanted to destroy that happiness. We were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The worst part? She didn't even know us. We'd never spoken, never interacted. We were just a reminder of something she couldn't fix in herself. They transferred her to a psychiatric facility. The diagnosis was severe trauma, unresolved grief, and depressive psychosis. Her reality had warped into something unrecognizable, and she acted on that darkness. It shook me to my core. Even now, when I go out, I find myself looking over my shoulder. The world feels less safe than it did before. You could be the kindest, gentlest person. You could live your life with good intentions, harming no one. But still, Some people carry pain so deep that it spills out in the most terrifying ways. That night didn't just leave scars on our bodies, it left a hole in our sense of safety. The lesson? Mental illness is real. Grief is dangerous when left untreated. And hate, no matter what form it takes, always finds a way to spread if no one stops it. So please be aware, be alert, and always pay attention to the ones quietly watching from the sidelines. Stay careful. The proposal. They call me Greg, but my real name is Gregorio. I was named after my grandfather, a man whose name and legacy carried a weight far beyond just family tradition. He was a dominant, unforgiving presence in our family's history, a man whose beliefs shaped not just how we saw the world, but how we lived in it. Since his time, there was an unspoken rule: never associate closely with those who don't fit his narrow ideas of normal. I grew up knowing there were whispers about people who didn't conform, people in the LGBTQ community. That term wasn't around when he was alive, but my grandfather's feelings were clear enough. He cursed gay men, convinced that any deviation in a man's nature would bring nothing but misery to our family line. Women, they said, might find their way back, but men, not so often. For most of my life, I thought I'd be spared that burden. I'm not gay, and while there were relatives who identified as lesbian, I was the safe one, the straight man carrying the family name forward. At least that's what I believed. Then I met Carla. From the moment I saw her, she was different, warm, lively, smart, with a feminine grace that I couldn't resist. She had a kindness that made the coldest parts of my heart thaw. I'd never fallen for someone so fast or so completely. She was my escape, my hope. We grew close quickly. I courted her with all the care and attention I had, and everything felt right. Our relationship progressed steadily, filled with laughter, dreams, and quiet moments of happiness. Then came the day I planned to propose. It was the same day my grandfather would turn 80. I wanted to honor the family tradition while starting something new, something better. So, during the celebration, with everyone gathered, I got down on one knee and asked Carla to marry me. She said yes. For a moment, I thought that everything was perfect. The future was ours. Then the silence was shattered by a gunshot. It came so suddenly, so violently that I couldn't believe what was happening. Carla crumpled to the floor, her body lifeless, her eyes wide with shock. The noise echoed in my ears long after it happened, and my world collapsed around me. The police arrived quickly, their questions cutting through the haze of grief and shock. But what they uncovered was worse than anything I could have imagined. The gunshot wasn't an accident. It was my family, the people I was supposed to trust. They had done this. The investigation revealed a secret Carla had kept from me, the secret she never got to tell me. Before she was Carla, she was Carlo. She was transgender. When my grandfather learned the truth, he warned her to stay away. He made it clear that in our family, this was a betrayal worse than anything. He believed it would bring ruin. But Carla was ready to be honest, to trust me before I proposed. Then everything ended. And I'm left with a silence that screams. The love I thought was real, the future we planned, it all feels like a lie now. I don't know what to believe anymore. Was she hiding something, or was she just afraid? And my family, how could they hate so deeply? How could they destroy something so precious? The mental toll is crushing. I feel trapped in a nightmare that never ends, haunted not just by Carla's absence, but by the shadows of hatred that linger in the house. Sometimes I hear her voice, a whisper in the dark rooms where our dreams once lived. It's not comforting. It's a reminder that the people you love can hurt you in ways no one else can. I struggle with the weight of depression, the creeping fear that I'll never heal, that the ghosts of the past will never let me go. There are nights when I can't sleep, haunted by visions of what could have been and what was stolen from me. Once, I tried reaching out to a counselor. I sat there in silence, unable to speak the truth, afraid of what it would sound like out loud. Every time I tried to tell someone, I felt Carla's name catch in my throat, like saying it would invite the memory to come crashing back in. I keep seeing her in the mirror, just behind me, never moving. I tell myself, it's just grief, just trauma. But then the cold air returns. Lights flicker. Her scent fills the room. The night she died, she wore the perfume I bought her for our 6-month anniversary. Now, sometimes when I pass our closet, her perfume bottle still sitting untouched. I smell it again, even though the cap hasn't moved in months. One night, I woke up to the sound of her voice whispering my name. Greg, soft, like the way she used to say it when she was half asleep, curled up against me. But when I turned on the light, the room was empty, cold. That night, I found her engagement ring in my drawer. I didn't put it there. Since then, I've felt her presence stronger and stronger, as if she's trying to say something. Maybe she's warning me, maybe she's reminding me, or maybe, just maybe, she's stuck, like me, unable to move on. There are days I don't leave the house. Shadows feel longer here. Sounds echo louder than they should. And in the corner of my eye, I still see her silhouette standing by the doorway, watching. I haven't spoken to most of my family since that day. They said it was for my own good, that I was spared a shameful future. But there's no future in this silence, only echoes of what we lost. The lesson I've learned is bitter but clear. Be very careful who you let into your life. Not just lovers, but family too. The people you think are there to protect you can also be the ones who bury you in grief. Not with a shovel, but with silence, secrets, and hatred disguised as tradition. Sometimes the most terrifying ghosts aren't the ones from folklore or nightmares. They're the living memories we carry, the choices we can't undo, and the people who still haunt us, not because they died, but because they were never truly allowed to live. I'll never forget Carla, and I'll never forgive what was done to her. Some nights, I wonder what my life would have been like if she had lived. If we had gotten married, if I had said something, done something, anything sooner. But it's too late. Now all I have left are shadows and her whispers.